So, very good afternoon to everybody, and once again, a very warm welcome to our Business Spotlight interview series. My name is Ron Maycock. I'm the owner of Action Coach Castleford and of Business Performance UK, and I'm delighted to be outnumbered this afternoon and joined by Tom Watts and also Josh Cullum, if I got that right.
Yeah, you got that
So,
right.
very good afternoon to both of you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
No problem at all. And Josh and Tom are directors of What's on Watches, and we'll be hearing plenty more about the business and about themselves in just a few moments' time. Before we do that, though, I just wanted to explain what the purpose of these interviews actually are. We're surrounded by some amazing businesses in our region. Each of them are basically on their own journeys. They've each got the stories to tell. They've each got to showcase their achievements and actually spread the word of what's actually happening in their worlds. But more importantly, it's all done in the name of abundance and actually increasing awareness. So the more people we can get to hear about what's on watches, then the better, as far as I'm concerned. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to both Tom and Josh. And if basically over to yourselves, tell me a little bit more about what's on watches.
You want to go for it?
Yeah, sure. So What's on Watches is an online vintage watch dealership. We have a specific focus in vintage watches from the likes of Rolex, Omega, Cartier, just to name a few. And alongside being a vintage watch dealership, we also have a huge focus on online content in regards to educating, informing, and opinion-based watch content. So What's on Watches started back operational it began operating in May 2022. Basically as a place Josh and I can share our passions for vintage watches. So Josh is responsible for all our online marketing content, so all the photos, videos, which have been very, very well received, and the growth that we've seen through our online social media. And with my background coming from the watch industry, my experiences with buying, selling, and sourcing watches for a wide range of clients, from people looking for their first watch or their first vintage watch, all the way to high net worth individuals looking to invest in different watches to grow their collections. So yeah, we've been operating since the middle of 2022, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster, to say the least. For the last couple of years, we've seen some really rapid growth, and we're very much enjoying the journey.
Excellent. And in terms of the model, if you like, of what you're doing, is it a buy and sell? Are you primarily sourcing watches on demand, or are you selling from stock?
It's a combination of all of them. We buy and sell vintage watches every day. So buying from, let's say, people who have cherished watches for a long time and wanting to release the funds from them. We sell watches day in, day out, but we also source watches as well. So if somebody is looking for an exact or very specific piece, that's where we find exactly what they're looking for. There's a whole lot to know about watches, and there's so many variations. So we try and help people find the perfect watch for them.
And how I have a inadvertent personal interest in this, I guess, in terms of certain things that I've had. The older and the more vintage you watch, sometimes the harder it is to really track down. As happens, sometimes watches are inherited, and when you're trying to get information from a two generations removed kind of source that's no longer with us, it's very difficult to find out the exact details. So do you get in terms of the blog and the interaction with the community, is that some of the stuff that you would actually get involved with, identifying specific models and giving a bit of backstory to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we often get people who have, I mean, we've had quite a few this week already of people that have inherited a watch, or I've just received this from my grandfather, something like that. And sometimes, people don't know what they've got. So we do also try and educate people. That's, again, a lot with what Josh does, educating people on certain vintage watches. So mainly with a focus on things that come into stock and why these pieces are desirable and the unique traits that some of these vintage watches carry. But yeah, we get a lot of inquiries for people who have inherited some very, very nice pieces.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And And are you doing sort of repairs and servicing of watches as well, or do you facilitate that and then send them off to manufacturers or whatever?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a very, very strong network of watchmakers that are able to do a wide range of fantastic work. So yeah, we get a lot of people who, like I said, vintage pieces that haven't received a lot of love and care for maybe decades. And we have some very talented watchmakers within our network that bring them watches back to life. And yeah, we deal with that quite a bit.
Have you got the sort of independence on that? Because I know certainly one of the brands, so people like Omega or whatever were bought into the Swatch group along with 22 other brands or
Mm,
whatever it is, and now they've got, the stock answer is we'll send it down to Southampton or whatever to
yeah.
an untrained technician who's got no experience of working on this but can fix a Swatch watch. So are you using the people that are qualified and that no longer are part of that setup, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we mainly use independent watchmakers.
Mhm.
I actually used to work for the Swatch Group prior to
Right.
starting this business. So yeah, I used to work for Longines, which is part of the Swatch Group umbrella. We don't really work necessarily with the brands because
Mhm.
I don't want to cause any defamation of character towards any of the brands, but they sometimes can be known to replace a lot of components and
Yeah,
sometimes ruin the vintage aesthetic, if we wish to call it that.
yeah.
So yeah, we work with very talented independent watchmakers who have got great experience in dealing with vintage pieces. Because that's they've got a much wider network to being limited to only being able to service the brands that they sell.
Yeah.
So yeah, independence all the way as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, no, I like the sound of that. I say the homogenized kind of approach sort of cheapens the uniqueness of the
Mm,
brand or of the actual
yeah.
watch. So, I think that's a really great thing. And Josh, in terms of the business and doing the marketing, what's your main sort of involvement and what do you do on a sort of a day-to-day basis?
Basically, because we're an online business, content going out on social media platforms, that's our shop front.
Yeah.
So without stuff going out on social media, that's like saying you're a business without a shop, essentially. So it's really quite vital. So my day to day will be photographing new stock that comes in, making sure the pictures all look good, getting them on the website, but probably more importantly is making short form video content. So things like Instagram Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, because that's where the sort of world's heading at the moment. It's important to sort of make sure you are well within that bandwagon because we see all the time these people who started off on YouTube when it first started and now they're millionaires. I'm not saying we'll be millionaires, but all I'm saying is recognize something good when it's happening and get on it before it peaks because something will crop up soon. And we'll just have to transfer to that anyway. So a lot of my time is making these informational, fun, stylish videos about watches that, yes, we are a business and we are trying to sell them. But the idea is that if you aren't in the market to buy a watch, you should always be able to take something from one of our videos. So
Mhm.
it provides a value to people who are in the market to shop for watches or people who just love watches. And then we do a lot of stuff on YouTube too.
Yeah, yeah. And what are you finding in terms of the typical target audience and who's engaging with the content that you're actually putting out at the moment?
So statistically, mostly males, although
Mhm.
every day the little percentage of females is growing. So that's great. In terms of an age range, it tends to be from the sort of young 20s to 40s. Again, when you look at the analytics, but we do also sell to people who are in that sort of 16 to 18 category. A lot
Mhm.
of people in that age will have saved for their first watch. It's all they want, and they save and they work really hard for it. A lot of them are working part-time, so they're in school or college, or maybe they've got a big birthday coming up. And those are really, really good sales for us. We like doing them. It starts someone off on their journey. And then we also get people with the older demographic too. I'm calling out these percentages, but really, if we put everyone in a room, you'd say it's a pretty even mix.
Mhm.
So maybe some people that have retired or winding down from work and they've got a bit of extra cash and there's maybe a watch they've always wanted. So we'll help them out with that. So it is a broad spectrum, but to be specific, most of our clients would be sort of that young 20s to 40s, but we try and cater for everyone the best we can.
And watch wise in terms of the products that, as a trend, are having the main sort of appeal? Is it the vintage? Is it the retro vintage, i.e. things that are only, 20 years old as opposed to 50, 60, 70 years old?
So I think naturally with all the big brands, the more modern stuff that they're pushing, they've got bigger marketing budgets, they're better well known. I think it's going to be that way for a long time. That again, if we looked at the stats of it, they are going to be generally more popular. But vintage watches as a whole are really on the climb. It went from something that was super niche and it's now getting to the point where you can go to the pub and have a conversation with someone because they've gone, oh, is that a Cartier Santos? That's one of the older ones, isn't it? Because it's smaller. It's really, really becoming common, and you're starting to see it now on things like GQ and all these other sort of pop culture pages. They've gone from just men's clothes, their cars, and there's a real focus on watches now. And because there's that broader focus on watches, it's pulling vintage watches up as well. And vintage watches are becoming more popular by the day. I do think it will become pretty much even Stevens, but I'd say it's maybe 60-40 at the moment towards the more modern side of things.
Are you doing accessories as well? So watch bracelets and things like that, or is it just
it's definitely something we thought about, but to be honest with you, we don't want to spread ourselves too thin just yet. We want to become the masters of our own craft before we start putting fingers in other pies, essentially. It's definitely a smart thing to do, but we could do it now. But the honest truth is, if we did it now, it wouldn't be to a standard we would be happy with. If we offer things like straps, watch storage, we want it to be the best. And realistically, if we start trying to do that now, maybe it would hinder what we're trying to do at the moment, slow it down. So we want to become the masters of our craft before we start spreading into other ways. But in terms of a 5, 6, 7 year plan, it's all up there.
Yeah, it's part and parcel of, if people are needing access to authentic products. Yes, there's lots of ones that look the same, but if you want that original brand or whatever, there's limited places you can get them these days, I guess. So, and obviously the internet being a global sort of route to market, are you really focused on the UK? Have you broken into international? Are you getting international inquiries these days, or is it much more localized and then growth from there?
Well, with everything that Josh is doing on social media, and obviously the wide range of reach that social media has, our audience, as you could say, is very vast and wide. We deal a lot with international clients, deal a lot with people in the States, pretty much everywhere from Australia to Canada to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, we ship watches internationally, but that is down to obviously being the online being our shop front. Our shop front can be seen internationally, so we're always going to get that wide range of clients. I mean, we didn't operate before Brexit, but since Brexit, it does make it a little bit more challenging for the international buyer. That's without a doubt. But we still see a lot of interest from overseas because the products that we sell, they may not be available in every single different market. A lot of what comes down to what we sell comes down to condition. And if somebody is looking for something in an exact condition and we're able to offer that, that's not going to scare away the international buyer because it is a big purchase. So they're happy to commit to an overseas sale. But the UK is also a massive audience for us as well. We have a very, very large UK audience, but we're not limited to just the UK market.
Excellent. And you said it in the two and a bit years or whatever it's been since you've been going, or just under 2 years in terms of operations. You said it's been up and down, and that's to be expected. The acid test, if you like, is you're still here, you're still going, things are growing, you're still smiling, that's all good. So in terms of that journey and the ups and downs, what have been the peaks and what have been the challenges that you faced?
Well, I think I described it as a roller coaster, but maybe as a roller coaster, we haven't.
It's been like a children's roller coaster.
Yeah, there's not been any major dips as of yet, thankfully. And to be honest, the business has grown at a rate that we didn't actually initially expect. A lot of the stuff that we had in our 5 to 10 year plan has already come around a lot sooner than expected. When Josh and I started this business, the idea was started off as a passion project where we can share our love for watches. And then it soon, very quickly became our full-time jobs. We both were working in very different careers. I'd worked in the watch industry. Josh was previously in the Navy. I had to step away from working from a watch brand because slightly maybe what you could call a conflict of interest. Josh was in the Navy, and then we both went into different careers where just to see ourselves over while this started. But that was thankfully, no offense to the people we worked for, but rather short-lived. And yeah, so we plan to maybe be full-time with this within 5 years, but within a year of operating the business, it needed our full care and attention. The way that we were selling watches at the start, we were maybe selling 1 or 2 a month, and still making the content, but that has, I think, tenfold, maybe a bit conservative, but we're selling watches every day. So we constantly need to be on hand to deal with the clients and give everybody that good experience that we started out with. So we're very, very happy with how the business has grown over the last 2 years. And if everything keeps with the forecast, it should be a very, very good 2024 as well.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the model, do you own the watches or do you sell them on behest of other people? So you buying that stock of people to then resell, or they still own it until it's sold?
No, we buy our own stock.
Right.
We occasionally do offer the odd consignment service for maybe if it's something that we wouldn't necessarily buy for our own stock, but we're happy to offer it for the client. But with, I would say, 90 to 95% of the stock that is available on our website, it's owned by ourselves. So it's all well and good offering consignment services, and I know a lot of people in the trade do offer that, but we like to be responsible for the watches that we sell. If it belongs to somebody else, you're very, very limited in terms of if you receive a watch of someone and it's not up to the standard that we would see fit to offer our clients, we need to be able to work on that watch. And if it's not our watch, that makes it very difficult. So having our own stock and also means that we can curate a selection that is, we always say that we sell what we love. So the watches that you will see on our website are watches that we're very passionate about. So I feel that's probably a better model than the consignment services that maybe some other competitors would offer.
It's interesting. I work with a car reseller, a dealership, if you like, and their entire forecourt is things their mates would buy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they have a passion for the same kind of thing. If we buy it, someone else will buy it that we know who fits into a similar kind of mold. So it's very, very much driven by if we like it, we'll sell it.
Yeah, we have to make it, we have to make these watches exciting. Josh has to bring these watches alive through a 1 minute video. And it is difficult to do that if your passion's not there. You've got to really make these watches sing. So that is pretty much why it's sell. If we like it, we're confident that with the audience that has been curated, that they will like it as well because they'll have a similar taste to us. That's not to say that everybody's going to just go, oh, that's amazing and completely agree with our taste. But we've been successful so far with the fact that if we like it, somebody else will. So you've got to sell what you love or it becomes rather challenging.
Yeah, proof's in the pudding, and if people stop buying it, perhaps you're looking at things in the other way rather than moving with trends in the market that suddenly people are acquiring different kind of timepieces. So, and in terms of the business and the model that you've done, as you said, it's grown quicker than you expected. But what makes it unique? What's different to what you're doing compared to others that do a similar thing in the market?
I think we've got a really unique setup in the sense that there's actually 3 of us that are partners in the business. The third man, Lewis Harding, he does all our finances and accounts and things, so we don't have to worry about it. And I do all the online side of things and the marketing. And Tom obviously sells the watches, which sounds pretty obvious, That sounds like a pretty obvious business model. But when you start going out and meeting watch dealers, collectors, it's quite common. You'll see that they're very often one-man bands. So these guys have to talk to clients over WhatsApps, emails, phone calls. They have to be out buying watches, and then they've got to think, oh God, I've got this watch. Maybe I should put it on my Instagram, and they'll film something on their phone. So they're all trying to do everything at once. Whereas my whole day is, let's make a really good piece of content about this watch. Tom's whole day is, I need to buy some pieces. I'm going to try and get a sourcing sale over the line today. Everyone can focus on their own unique task. And when everyone does their speciality to the best of their abilities, all the wheels are turning. And for lack of a better phrase, cooking on gas, I suppose. So I think that's the unique thing. And because for a lot of people, they'll start on their own, realize they need the help, and then they realize a videographer is quite expensive, an editor is quite expensive, an accountant maybe not as expensive, but it's an expense. So because we started this way, and probably quite fortunate, we didn't go into this thinking this is going to be a mega idea. We have often looked back and gone, thank God we started this way, because it's allowed for so much more growth. And as well, just to top off your question, I think there is a real passion that comes across in everything we put out there. Whereas some people, it may come across that this is just their job. This is what they do. But the amount of times we've had people leaving comments or emailing us saying that, the passion that comes through your videos, you're selling a feeling, you're not selling a watch, you're doing it right, keep doing what you're doing. Or people have even told us that they've cried watching our videos. Like if it's been a sentimental video about, the cost of your watch doesn't matter. If it's, something that someone gave to you and it's precious, that's the most expensive, most valuable watch in the world, because it means something to you for that reason. We've had people telling us it's made them emotional, and they'll write out a paragraph about a watch their granddad left them or their grandmother. And so I think the romanticism and the passion mixed with the little system we've got in terms of everyone doing their job is the really unique aspect.
It's great. And I remember a couple of years ago seeing Noel Fitzpatrick, the super vet, talking at an event, and he, in his own language, which isn't recordable and repeatable, but I'll give the general theme of the message. He just turned around and he goes, the moment you don't care enough, you've already lost.
Yeah.
And if you truly care about people's journey, about this being more than a transaction, then that's where you're going to differentiate yourself, because you're keeping it with the soul in terms of how you move forward. So it served you well over the last couple of years. You've got a good foothold, you've got decent traction, and things are looking rosy moving forward. So roll forward 3 to 5 years. What's next for you? Where do you see this going?
Well, we just opened a physical premise,
Right.
an office space in Leeds where we can meet with clients and show them watches in person. But I think one of the big goals for us is to grow the online space to be a bit more than a watch shop, for it to be more of a destination, a place where you can come not only to watch the videos and learn, but read reams and reams of articles, like a vintage watch paradise. Anything you want to know, it's on our website, and you can come there and learn, and it costs nothing, and just offer a lot of value to the vintage community in that sense, and grow it that way. And at that point, when we've got that sort of thing rolling, is when we'd be looking at things like maybe looking at brands to offer accessories, things like that, and then also broaden it even further by maybe potentially even stocking actual watch brands instead of reselling vintage ones, and broadening out of the vintage market at that point when we have got that large audience and that large web profile, starting to offer pieces that are newer and then reach a whole other section of the watch community. There's probably some stuff that you'd want to add on to that.
I think you've summed that up really well. Yeah, the idea is pretty much as Josh said. We want to become the number one destination, whether it's vintage, modern, whether you want to learn, whether you just want to enjoy, whether you want opinion or facts. We want to cover all aspects of that market. So yeah, we will continue to sell vintage watches. That is what our passion is. We'll continue to produce content, but we are looking forward to working with brands, selling brands, producing content, and just being, hopefully, one of the #1 leaders in the watch space online, and then venturing into the physical premises as well.
It's a great business model in terms of starting with community. Once you
Mm.
build the community, then you can get people to share their passions and follow the direction that takes you in, rather than going, we're in one lane and this is who we are and that's it.
Yeah.
Because you get into the watch community and build your own community, they'll take you in a direction, you know, that shapes your future, not you. You know, and that's the main thing. One thing, and this is a shameless plug, and I'll even tag him in when we release this, but if you've not already, then absolutely must read They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. Okay, in terms of building your message, in terms of shaping how you go to market with the information and answering the questions, building the community, that should be your Bible moving forward. Marcus won't have a problem with me plugging his book and his coaching and marketing training and everything like that he does globally, but that would be a phenomenal thing. If you're already on board on that journey, brilliant, well done. If you're not, get on it, and I'll give you details of that, you know, later on. But so that's actually bringing us towards the end of the interview. I mean, it's fascinating hearing how you've taken a total passion and turned this into a business. And I didn't ask, but do you know each other from way back when? You grew up together, kind of thing, or?
It's a bit of a strange one, really. We covered this in a podcast we did quite recently, but sometimes the stars align on a couple of these things. But actually, Josh and I grew up in the same village.
Yeah.
If you couldn't tell, Josh is a little bit younger than me.
1 year.
One year, but I had a tougher paper round. But yeah, we grew up, actually, we lived on the same street. We went to the same schools, but it realistically was only after school that Josh and I became more than just acquaintances. Josh actually purchased a watch from me when he was about to join the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's he started to venture into his passion for watches. And then during his time in the Navy, I was away working in the watch industry, and the watch industry, as much as it is fantastic, and it's where my passion lies. When like we covered earlier on, working for one brand can be rather restrictive in terms of, and I didn't enjoy that. So then, by chance, Josh and I ended up chatting again, and I was like, Josh is quite handy with a camera, so we said, let's catch up, and and it went from there. So always sort of been in a close proximity, but yeah, as when we launched the business is when we became quite close.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like I say, taking a passion, taking a friendship, and turning it into a business, great way forward. And I say, exciting times for the future, because you know, it's a massive market. There's some people doing it well, there's some people not doing it so well, but massive opportunity for the whole business and everyone involved with it moving forward. And yeah, exciting times. So that's pretty much bringing us to the end. So just as a sense check, is there anything that we've not covered, or anything that you'd like to add?
I think we're all good.
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
that's pretty much. We put the worlds to right, and that's the main thing. So all that remains to be said is a big thank you to Tom and to Josh. It's been fascinating hearing about the journey. I really do thank you for sharing that, and sharing that with our audience as well. Big thank you for everyone who's been watching this. If you are watching this and go, yeah, we want to promote our business just in the same way that Tom and Josh have done, and you want to put your own business into the spotlight, when we release these videos, we always put ways of getting in touch. So simply do get in touch. We'll record, we'll book you in, we'll get your own interview recorded, and you can put your own business into the spotlight. So big thank you again to Josh, and also to Tom, and thank you to everyone else who's been watching. And it's been another of our Business Spotlight interviews. We'll see you soon. Keep smiling.